The morning came quietly to the village of Endam, but silence never meant peace in that land. Silence meant the spirits were listening. Mist still slept on the red earth. The tall baobab trees stood like old men, their wide trunks scarred by time and stories. Somewhere far away, a drum beat once, then stopped, as if the drummer's hand had frozen in fear. Birds did not sing. Even the wind moved slowly, careful not to wake something unseen. Inside a round clay house with a grass roof, Amara opened. Her eyes before dawn, she did not wake because of sound. She woke because of the feeling. Her chest felt tight. Her heart beat too fast. Cold ran through her bones, even though the night fire still glowed softly. Amara sat up on her sleeping mat and pressed her palm to the earth floor. As her mother had taught her long ago, the earth felt uneasy. Amara was the wife of Kondo, a respected man in Endam. He was a trader who traveled between villages and towns, crossing forests, rivers, and open savanna. People greeted him with smiles. Elders trusted him. Hunters shared meat with him. Children ran behind him, calling his name from the outside. Amara's life looked good, but the spirits see what humans hide. Amara stood and wrapped a cloth around her body. The early light painted the walls with soft orange colors. Smoke from the fire carried the smell of wood and old herbs. She walked slowly to the doorway and looked outside. The sky was heavy, purple, and gray. Clouds moved low, like they were watching the village. A single crow sat on the roof across the path. It looked straight at her and did not blink. Amara whispered, "Ancestors, why do you watch me this way?" The crow cawed once and flew away. Her stomach turned. Behind her, she heard movement. Kondo was awake. "My wife," he said warmly. "You are up early." His voice sounded gentle, like always. Too gentle. Amara turned. Kondo stood near the fire, wearing his clean tunic. He smiled, showing calm eyes and steady hands. In his hands was a wooden bowl covered with a woven lid. "I made something special for you," he said. "Sit, eat before the sun rises." Amara froze. Kondo had never cooked for her before, not once in all their years together. In Endam, men cooked only during rituals, funerals, or when guided by elders for special reasons. This was none of those. The feeling in her chest grew heavier. Kondo placed the bowl before her. Steam rose slowly, carrying a smell that was sweet and bitter at the same time. Millet porridge mixed with honey. And something else. Something old. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her mind. "When food smells sweet, but your spirit trembles, do not eat. Food can carry more than hunger." Amara forced a smile. "You honor me today," she said carefully. Kondo laughed softly. "Is it wrong to care for my wife?" "No," Amara replied. "It is just unexpected." He lifted the lid. Inside was thick porridge, smooth and golden, topped with crushed nuts and dried berries. It looked perfect. Too perfect. The fire popped. Shadows danced on the wall. Outside, the crow's cry echoed again, farther away now, like a warning carried by the wind. Amara's hand shook as she reached toward the bowl. Her fingers stopped inches from the food. Her heart whispered danger. "Kondo," she said slowly, "did anyone help you prepare this?" His eyes flickered for a moment, just a moment. But Amara saw it. "No," he answered quickly. "I wanted it to be from me alone." That was the lie. Amara felt it deep in her bones. She lowered her hand. "My stomach is tight this morning. Maybe I should eat later." Kondo's smile faded, just a little. "You must eat now. It is good for you." The way he said must made her skin crawl. Before she could answer, a knock came at the doorway. Both of them turned. It was Lena, Kondo's secretary. She was young, sharp-eyed, and dressed neatly even at dawn. She worked with Kondo during his travels, counting goods and writing marks on bark paper. She bowed her head respectfully. "Forgive me," Lena said. "You asked me to come early to prepare for the journey." Kondo stiffened. "I did not." Amara raised her hand gently. "You are welcome, Lena." Lena stepped inside. Her eyes fell on the bowl of food. "That smells good," she said with a small smile. Something clicked inside Amara's mind like a stone falling into place. The ancestors were guiding her. Amara lifted the bowl and held it out. "Please," she said. "Eat." "I cannot right now." Lena hesitated. "I should not. It is already prepared," Amara insisted. "Do not let it go to waste." Kondo's face changed color. "There is no need," but Lena, unaware of the storm beneath the calm surface, sat and took the bowl. She thanked Amara and began to eat. The first spoonful went down easily. The second made Lena pause. The third. She coughed out, her face tightened. Her eyes widened. "Kondo," she whispered, "what is this?" Before he could answer, Lena dropped the spoon. Her body stiffened. She gasped as if the air had turned thick like mud. The bowl tipped over, spilling the porridge onto the earth floor. The fire hissed loudly. Amara screamed. Lena collapsed. Her body shook. Foam gathered at her lips. Her eyes rolled back until only white showed. The earth trembled. Outside, dogs howled. Drums began beating wildly in the distance, though no human hands touched them. The wind rushed through the village, lifting dust and ashes. Kondo stumbled backward. No. This is not how." Amara knelt beside Lena, calling her name, but Lena did not answer. Her breath was shallow, broken. From the spilled food, something dark crawled out, not an insect. Not a worm. It looked like black smoke mixed with liquid. Shadow. It twisted and hissed before sinking into the earth. Amara's blood ran cold. This was no ordinary poison. This was spirit work. The doorway darkened. Elder Makena stood there, leaning on his carved staff. His eyes glowed like embers. "I felt the ground cry," he said. "What has been fed to the earth?" Kondo fell to his knees. "Elder, I can explain." Makena raised his staff. Silence. The elder knelt and touched Lena's forehead. He closed his eyes and began to chant softly. Words older than the village flowed from his mouth, calling to ancestors, calling to the unseen. After a long moment, Lena's shaking slowed. Her breathing steadied, but she did not wake. Makana opened his eyes and looked at Amara. "Daughter," he said, "your spirit shielded you today." Then he turned to Kondo. "And you," the elder said, his voice hard as stone, "have opened a door that should never be opened." The sky outside cracked with thunder. Makana stood. "Carry her to the healer, now." Villagers gathered, whispering, fear filling their faces. Hunters held their spears tightly. Women clutched their children. As Lena was carried away, Makena faced Amara again. "Do not eat or drink anything from this house," he warned. "Not until the truth walks in daylight." Amara nodded, tears streaming down her face. She looked at Kondo, who would not meet her eyes. Her heart broke, but fear was stronger. That morning, Amara learned a terrible truth. Sometimes love prepares breakfast. And sometimes death hides in the bowl. Far beyond the village. Deep in the forest where drums are carved from living trees. Something ancient stirred. The spirits had been fed, and they would demand payment. The village of Ndam did not sleep that night. Fires burned longer than usual, their flames dancing like restless spirits. Smoke curled into the dark sky, mixing with low clouds that hid the moon. Dogs paced without rest. Goats bleated softly. Sensing fear they could not name, the drums did not stop. They beat slowly, deeply, like a wounded heart. Amara sat alone inside her clay house. The fire had burned low, but she did not add wood. She did not want more light. Light showed too much. Her hands trembled as she held her knees close to her chest. The earth beneath her felt cold now, as if it had pulled away from her touch. Elder McKenna's words echoed in her mind again and again. Do not eat or drink anything. From this house, she looked at the bowl where the food had spilled earlier. McKenna had ordered it buried far from the village, beyond the old termite hills. Even so, Amara could still smell it in her memory. Sweet, bitter, wrong. Sigh. Voices murmured. People spoke her name in whispers. She almost died. The spirits warned her. Her husband? Amara closed her eyes. Kondo had not returned since Lena was carried away. He followed the villagers toward the healer's grove, then disappeared into the dark paths between the trees. No one saw where he went. No one asked. Fear had turned his name heavy. A sudden gust of wind pushed through the doorway, lifting ash into the air. The fire crackled sharply, and for a moment, Amara thought she heard a voice in the flames. You were spared for a reason. She stood quickly. Her heart raced. Ancestors? She whispered. Only the wind answered. She wrapped her cloth tighter around her body and stepped outside. The night air was thick and damp. The path through the village glowed faintly from scattered fires. At the far edge, near the sacred fig tree, elders gathered in a tight circle. Amara knew she was being called without words. She walked slowly, her bare feet pressing into the red soil. Every step felt heavy, like the ground was asking her questions. When she reached the elders, they fell silent. McKenna stood at the center, his staff planted firmly in the earth. Beside him was Elder Sefu, the oldest woman in Ndam. Her hair was white like ash, her eyes sharp like a hawk's. Daughter of this land, Sefu said. Amara sat on a low stool. Firelight flickered across the elders' faces, revealing lines carved by time and truth. Makina spoke first. Lena lives, he said, but her spirit wanders. Amara's breath caught. Will she wake? Yes, Makina replied slowly, but not without answers. Sefu leaned forward. What did your husband feed her? Amara swallowed. I do not know. I only know my spirit refused the food. Sefu nodded. That refusal saved your life? A low murmur moved through the elders. Makina raised his staff again. This was not common poison. It carried a calling. Someone invited something into that bowl. The fire flared suddenly, sending sparks into the air. Dark medicine? One elder asked, or a broken oath. Another whispered. Amara's chest tightened. What does this have to do with me? Sefu's eyes softened. Everything. Before Amara could speak again, a cry rose from the healer's grove. A long, sharp cry that cut through the night. Everyone stood. Makina turned to a young warrior. Go. The warrior ran, spear clutched tightly. Minutes later, he returned, breathless. Lena is awake, he said, but she is changed. Amara's heart pounded. Changed how? She speaks of shadows, the warrior replied. And of a man who wears your husband's face. A cold wave washed over Amara. Makina did not hesitate. We must hear her. They walked toward the healer's grove, where tall trees formed a circle older than memory. Carved symbols covered their trunks. Charms hung from branches, clicking softly in the wind. Inside the grove, Lena lay on a mat of leaves. Her eyes were open, staring at nothing. The healer, Mama Naira, sat beside her, burning herbs that filled the air with sharp, bitter smoke. Amara stepped forward. Lena's head snapped toward her. You, Lena whispered. Amara knelt. I am here. Lena's voice shook. The food, it was not for me. I know, Amara said softly. Lena grabbed her wrist with sudden strength. He said your name. Amara felt the world tilt. Who did? Your husband, Lena said, but not the one you know. The elders leaned closer. Lena continued, her eyes wide. I saw him in the dark. He stood before a river of black water. An old thing stood behind him, tall and bent, with eyes like burning holes. A murmur of fear spread. The old thing cut his palm, Lena whispered. Blood fell into the pot. And the old thing laughed. Amara pulled her hand away, shaking. Makina's face was grim. A blood pact? Sefu spat on the ground. Foolish man. Amara stood, her legs weak. Why? She asked. Why would he do this? Lena's voice dropped to a whisper. For power, for escape, for another life. Before Amara could respond, a deep horn sounded from the edge of the village. A warning horn. Hunters rushed in, breathless. Elders, one said. Kondo has been seen near the old river. The elders exchanged looks. Makina's voice was low. The river of bones. Everyone knew that place. Long ago, it swallowed warriors, traders, and spirits alike. It was said the water remembered every life it took. Amara's knees buckled. Sefu steadied her. Child, your path has reached a crossing. I must go, Amara said suddenly. Makina shook his head. No, this is not a path for a wife. This is my life, Amara replied. If I do not face him, the spirits will not rest. Silence followed. Then Makina nodded. Prepare her. Before dawn, Amara was washed in sacred water. White clay was painted on her arms and forehead. A small charm made of bone and leather was tied around her neck. Mama Naira whispered into her ear. Do not trust what looks familiar. The drums began again, faster now. As the first light touched the sky, Amara walked toward the river, flanked by hunters and elders. Mist rose from the ground, thick and cold. Birds flew away as they passed. The river appeared like a dark wound in the land. Its water moved slowly, silently. At the edge stood Kondo, or what looked like him. He turned. His smile was not his own. Amara, he said, you should have eaten. The river behind him began to bubble, and something beneath the surface stirred. The river did not sound like water. It breathed. Mist rolled across its black surface, thick and slow, curling around Kondo's legs like living fingers. The hunters stopped several steps behind Amara, fear rooting them to the ground. Even the elders hesitated. This place did not belong to the living. Amara stood at the front, her heart pounding like war drums. Kondo, she called, her voice shaking but clear. Step away from the river. He laughed softly. It was the same laugh she had heard many times before, but something was broken inside it. Like a drum with a torn skin. Why? He asked. This river has given me more than the village ever did. The mist lifted just enough for Amara to see his eyes. They were wrong. The whites were darkened, like smoke trapped behind glass. Veins crawled across them like thin roots. When he blinked, his shadow moved a moment too late. Makana raised his staff. You stand on cursed ground, Kondo. Speak the truth before the ancestors tear it from you. Kondo tilted his head. Truth? He said. Very well. The river behind him rippled, and images began to rise on its surface. Like memories pulled from deep water, Amara gasped. She saw her own house, years ago. She saw herself younger, smiling, trusting. She saw Kondo returning from his first long journey, empty-handed, his face heavy with shame. Then the image changed. She saw Kondo kneeling in the forest at night. An old figure stood before him, bent and tall, its skin like dried bark, its mouth stretching too wide. The river father, Makina whispered. The elders recoiled. The image showed the river father cutting Kondo's palm, mixing his blood with black water and crushed roots. I was tired of being small, Kondo said, his voice echoing unnaturally. Tired of being ignored. The river father promised me success, trade, respect, a new path. Sefu stepped forward, fury blazing in her eyes. And the cost? Kondo smiled. A life? Amara's knees weakened. Whose life? Kondo looked at her. Yours. The word hit her like a spear. Gasps rose from the group. One hunter dropped his weapon. The wind screamed through the trees, bending branches low. Makina roared. You offered your wife? Kondo shrugged. The pact demanded the one closest to my heart. The one who trusted me most. Amara's tears fell freely now, but something else rose inside her. Anger, strength, fire. But the spirits refused me. Kondo continued, his voice darkening. Your ancestors protected you, so the food took another. Lena, Amara clenched her fists. She was innocent. So were you, Kondo replied calmly. The spirits do not care. The river bubbled harder. A shape pressed against the surface, massive and slow, like a giant breathing below. Makana slammed his staff into the earth. The pact is broken. You failed. Kondo laughed louder now. No, the pact only waits. Suddenly he screamed, his body twisted. His back arched sharply, bones cracking. Black veins spread across his neck and arms. His mouth opened too wide, and a deep, ancient voice poured out. The woman walks with shielded blood. The river father spoke through him. Amara felt her charm grow hot against her chest. You were not chosen. The voice growled, but you may still be taken. The river surged forward. Hunters shouted. Elders chanted. Spears flew, but they passed through Kondo's shadow like smoke. Makina shouted, Amara, your blood is protected. Only you can step forward. Fear screamed inside her, but her feet moved. She walked toward Kondo, toward the river, toward death. Every step felt like walking through thick air. The charm burned now, searing her skin. Kondo, she said, looking straight into his stood face. Look at me. For a moment, his eyes cleared. Amara, he whispered weakly, I didn't want it to end this way. You chose this, she said. You chose power over love. Tears ran down his face, mixing with black streaks. I was afraid. So was I, Amara replied. But I did not betray my soul. She reached out and touched his chest. The river screamed. A blinding light burst from her charm. The white clay on her skin glowed bright as fire. The ancestors answered. Images flooded the air. Women before her, mothers, warriors, healers, standing tall against darkness. Their voices joined as one. Enough, the river father roared in rage. The river thrashed violently, waves crashing against the banks. Kondo screamed as the shadow was torn from his body. It rose above him, tall and terrible, its form now clear, hollow eyes, mouth dripping black water, limbs long and bent like dead branches. The elders fell to their knees. You were warned, Makina shouted. This land rejects you. The spirit hissed. Blood was promised. Amara stepped forward again, her voice steady. Take his. Silence fell. Kondo looked at her in horror. Amara, no. You already gave mine, she said. Now balance must be restored. The ancestors hummed in approval. The river father turned slowly toward Kondo. No, Kondo begged, crawling backward. I can still serve. The river opened. Black water rose like hands and wrapped around him. His scream echoed once, then was swallowed. The river went still. The mist lifted. The morning sun broke through the clouds for the first time since dawn. Amara collapsed to her knees. Sobbing, Makina rushed to her side. It is done, he said softly. The turning has happened. Behind them, the river began to change. Its water lightened, flowing clearer than before, carrying away the darkness. But Amara knew the story was not finished, because the spirits Never take without leaving a mark. And Ndam would soon learn. The river looked calm. Too calm. The sun rose fully now, spreading pale gold across the land, yet the warmth did not reach the hearts of those standing by the riverbank. The hunters lowered their spears. The elders straightened their backs slowly. No one spoke. Amara still knelt at the edge of the river, her hands pressed into the damp soil. The place where Kondo had been taken was smooth, as if nothing had happened. No blood, no broken earth. Only flowing water, whispering softly, but the silence felt heavy. Makana helped Amara to her feet. "Do not look back," he said gently. Amara shook her head. "How could I not? My life was there." Makana sighed. "Your past was there. Your life still walks." They began the long journey back to Ndam. The path through the forest felt different. Now, the trees creaked and bent as they passed, like elders bowing in respect. Birds slowly returned, their calls uncertain at first, then stronger. Still, something in the air remained tense, like a storm holding its breath. When they reached the village, the people were waiting. Women stood with children clutched to their sides. Warriors lined the paths. Old men leaned on sticks, their eyes sharp and questioning. As Amara stepped forward, whispers moved through the crowd like wind through grass. She lived. The river took him. The spirits chose her. Amara felt every word like a stone on her back. Sepho raised her hand, and the village fell silent. "The danger is not finished," she said. "Broken packs leave wounds, and wounds can rot." That night, Lena screamed. Her cry tore through the village just as darkness fell. Fires were lit quickly. Mama Naira's hut glowed bright as villagers gathered again, fear tightening their faces. Amara pushed through the crowd. Inside the hut, Lena thrashed on her mat, her body arching unnaturally. Black marks spread across her arms like crawling ink. Her eyes were open, but they did not see. Mama Naira chanted loudly, sweat pouring down her face. The spirit was torn away, but not cleanly. She shouted, "A piece remains." Makana stepped forward. "Where?" Mama Naira pointed toward Lena's chest, inside her breath. Lena screamed again, her voice splitting into two tones, one hers, one ancient and cruel. Amara felt a cold hand squeeze her heart. "This is my fault," she whispered. Makana shook his head. "No, this is the price of standing close to darkness." Suddenly, Lena sat straight up. Her head snapped toward Amara. "You were not meant to survive," the voice said through Lena's mouth. "Your husband failed, but the debt remains." The fires flickered wildly. Shadows climbed the walls like living things. Amara stepped forward despite Makina's warning grip. "Then take me," she said. "Leave her." Lena laughed, a sound that did not belong to her. "You are already marked." The mark. Amara's hand flew to her chest. The charm burned hot again, hotter than before. The white clay on her skin darkened, cracking like dry earth. Mama Naira gasped. The river father touched her spirit. Even in rejection, it left a scar. Makina's voice trembled for the first time. "What does that mean?" Mama Naira swallowed. "It means the river will come for her again." A cry of fear rose from the villagers. Amara stood tall, though terror shook her bones. "Then we prepare." Before anyone could answer, the ground rumbled. A deep vibration rolled through the village, knocking bowls from shelves and sending children screaming. From the far hills came the sound of drums. Not village drums. War drums. Hunters rushed to the edge of Ndam. What they saw made their blood run cold. The river was rising. Water spilled beyond its banks, creeping toward the fields, swallowing crops, turning soil to mud. Fish flopped on dry land. Frogs croaked wildly. The river was walking. Makina closed his eyes. "The river father is calling its children." Out of the water rose figures, twisted shapes made of mud and bone, eyes glowing faint blue. They moved slowly but with purpose, dragging themselves toward the village. The drowned ancestors, Sepho whispered. Those taken by broken oaths. Panic spread. Run. Protect the children. Spears were raised, but when they struck the figures, they passed through. Meeting only cold water, Amara moved forward again. No, Makina shouted. You cannot face this alone. Amara turned to him, tears in her eyes but strength in her voice. I already am. She stepped onto the wet earth as the water lapped at her. The journey to the mountains began before the sun remembered its own name. The village of Indam gathered in silence as Amara stepped onto the path that led away from everything she had known. Mist wrapped around her ankles like soft chains. The earth was cold but steady, as if it understood where she was going. Makina walked beside her, his staff tapping the ground in a slow, measured rhythm. Behind them followed 3 warriors, Mama Naira and Elder Sepho. No one else was allowed. This path was not for many feet. The Sky Forge does not welcome the living, Sepho said quietly. It tests truth, not strength. Amara nodded. She felt strangely calm. Fear still lived inside her, but it no longer ruled her dot as they crossed the savannah. The grass bent away from them, whispering secrets. Antelope watched from afar, unmoving. The sun rose pale and sharp, casting long shadows that seemed to walk on their own dot. By midday, the land began to rise. Hills turned into stone teeth. The air thinned. Each breath felt heavier than the last dot. Then the drums stopped. The silence was sudden and complete. Mama Naira froze. We have crossed the listening line. Above them, dark clouds gathered unnaturally fast, rolling and twisting like angry spirits. Thunder growled deep in the sky, but no rain fell. The Sky Forge appeared at sunset. It was not a mountain, but many jagged peaks fused together, blackened as if burned from within. At the highest point, lightning struck again and again, hitting the same stone without pause. The air smelled of metal and smoke. Amara's knees weakened. Makina planted his staff. Only one may enter. Sepho stepped forward. Then this is where we leave her. Mama Naira tied a final charm around Amara's wrist. Do not lie, she whispered, even to protect yourself. The warriors stepped back. Amara stood alone. She took one step forward. The ground split open. Fire burst from the crack, forming a wall of flame shaped like a man. Its eyes glowed white-hot. Its voice boomed like thunder inside her bones. Why do you come, woman of marked blood? Amara swallowed. To restore balance. The fire being laughed. Balance is paid in loss. I know, Amara replied. The flames parted. She entered the Sky Forge. Inside, the world changed. Stone floated like clouds. Fire ran like water. The sound of pounding metal echoed from nowhere and everywhere. At the center stood 3 figures, made of light and smoke, the judges of the forge. One spoke with a voice of iron. You carry the stain of a broken oath. Another spoke like cracking stone. You did not commit. The third spoke softly like dying embers. Why should you pay? Amara fell to her knees. Because if I do not, others will. Images filled the air, Lena screaming, the river flooding, children drowning, the village swallowed. I will not allow that future, Amara said, even if I am forgotten. The judges were silent. Then Iron spoke again. The River Father demands a life. Amara lifted her chin. Then take mine. The forge shook. Embers whispered. Your death would feed the cycle. Stone cracked. A different payment is required. The light dimmed. You must choose what you will never get back. Amara's heart pounded. Name it. The forge answered with visions. She saw herself as an old woman, surrounded by children who looked like her. She saw laughter, warmth, a long life. She saw it fade. She understood. "My womb," she whispered. "Take it." The fire roared. Outside, Makena screamed as lightning struck violently inside the forge. The judges burned brighter. Confirmed. They said as one. Pain ripped through Amara's body, sharp and deep, like fire cutting through bone. She cried out, collapsing onto the floating stone. White light consumed her. Far away. The river screamed. The river father rose one last time, howling in rage as chains of lightning wrapped around its form, dragging it back into the depths where it belonged. The floodwaters receded instantly. The drowned spirits dissolved. Into mist. Balance was restored. Amara lay still, for a moment that felt like eternity. Nothing happened. Then she breathed. The fire being reappeared, its form calmer now. "It is done." Amara opened her eyes slowly. Tears streamed down her face, but she did not scream. "What am I now?" she asked. "Free," the being replied, "and empty." She was carried out of the forge by unseen hands and placed at the mountain's edge just as dawn broke. Makena ran to her, lifting her carefully. She smiled weakly. "It is finished." He felt it immediately. The future she had given up was gone, but the land was safe, and the spirits were silent. The sun rose gently over the land, as if afraid to wake it too fast. The mountain stood quiet now. No lightning struck their peaks. No thunder rolled through the sky. The Skyforge had closed its eyes. Amara lay on a woven stretcher as Makena and the warriors carried her back toward Endam. Her breathing was slow but steady. Her face looked calm, yet older, as if many seasons had passed through her in one night. Mama Naira walked beside her, fingers always checking Amara's pulse. Elder Sefu followed behind, her head bowed in respect. No one spoke. The land itself seemed to listen. As they crossed the savannah, grass slowly lifted again. Birds returned to the trees. A soft wind carried the smell of rain, though no clouds followed. Balance was moving back into place. When they reached the village, the people were waiting. No cheers rose. No drums sounded. The villagers knelt. Men lowered their heads. Women pressed hands to their hearts. Children stared with wide, quiet eyes. Makena raised his staff. "The river has been sealed. The spirits have taken their payment." A heavy silence followed. Amara opened her eyes. She slowly sat up with help. The crowd gasped softly. She looked around at familiar faces, neighbors, elders, children she had once fed and taught. Tears filled her eyes. "It is over," she said gently. "You are safe," a woman cried out. Another followed. Soon the village wept openly, not in fear, but in release. Lena stepped forward. She looked thinner now, her eyes deeper, as if she had seen beyond the world and returned. She knelt before Amara and bowed her head to the ground. "I live because you chose pain," Lena said. "I can never repay you." Amara reached out and lifted Lena's face. "Live well," she said. "That is payment enough." That night, the elders lit a great fire in the center of Endam. Not a fire of warning or fear, but one of closing. Makana spoke to the people. "Let this be remembered. Power taken through lies poisons the land. Love betrayed calls spirits that do not forgive." He turned to Amara. "And let this woman be honored, not as a victim, but as a guardian." The people stood. Drums began again, slow, deep, respectful. Dancers moved around the fire, their shadows tall against the huts. Songs rose into the night, carrying Amara's name, but Amara did not dance. She sat quietly near the fire, wrapped in a simple cloth, watching sparks rise into the sky. Inside her chest was a hollow space, not pain, but absence. A future removed. Mama Naira sat beside her. Grief will come in waves, she said softly. Do not fight it. Amara nodded. I know. Later, when the fire burned low and the village slept, Amara walked alone to the river. The water flowed clear now, reflecting stars like scattered seeds of light. She knelt and touched it. It felt calm. I did not do this to be praised, she whispered. I did it so others could live. The river answered with a soft ripple. Years passed, and Ndam changed. The river never flooded again. Crops grew strong. Trade returned, honest and clean. Travelers spoke of the village where the spirits had been. Faith and balance restored. Amara became an elder in time. She never remarried, some men asked. She always smiled and refused. She became a teacher instead. Children gathered around her to hear stories, not of monsters or gods, but of choices. She taught them how to listen to their spirits, how to feel when something was wrong, even if it looked sweet, how betrayal often wears the face of love. When she grew old, her hair turned silver like moonlight on water. Her back bent, but her eyes stayed clear. On her final day, Amara asked to be carried to the river. The village gathered quietly as she lay beneath the open sky. Makina, now very old himself, held her hand. You changed the path of this land, he said. Amara smiled faintly. No, I only refused to walk the wrong one. She looked at the children watching her. Remember this, she said, her voice weak but steady. What you accept into your life matters. Food, words, love, power, all can carry poison. The wind moved softly through the grass. Trust the warning inside you, she whispered. It is older than fear. With that, Amara closed her eyes. The river shimmered. That night, elders say the ancestors welcomed her with open arms. They say the fire burned blue for a moment, and the stars shone brighter. And so the story lives on in Ndam, a story of betrayal and truth, of spirits and choice, of a woman who listened to her soul when the world tried to silence it.